I will tell you that building a house requires a lot of planning. It requires a lot of patience, and you can't get too far ahead of yourself. You got to stay back. You got to ask questions. You got to listen to people. You know, just because you want something in a certain place doesn't mean that you can have that something in a certain place. You have to listen to the people who have done it before and heed their advice, and that's wisdom. The very next step after purchasing the property is we had a PERC test done, or a site evaluation from the health department. And we actually did this while we were waiting for the closing agent to do the title search and all of that. So we had the site evaluated for a PERC test, and a PERC test is to see if the soil is healthy enough to accommodate a sewage system, or a septic tank and a leach field, a drain field for the septic. And so that's the first thing. So your site evaluation in our location is going to cost about $300. And then if the person that you typically have to have someone with a backhoe to go out and dig holes for the health department inspector to inspect. And if that person with the backhoe decides to charge you, then you'll have that expense. In my case, the person who is doing my septic tank is the one who dug my holes for the inspector. So he's going to add that cost onto the septic tank. So the site eval costs $300. And then as soon as you get your site evaluation done, you can go to the planning and zoning office at your local county and see what is required for a building permit. And in my case, the requirements for a building permit was to have the site evaluation and then an encroachment certificate. And what that means is I had to go to the Department of Transportation, and in my case it was already completed, which saved me about $300 to $400. But you have to go to the Transportation Department and you have to get approval from them to have a driveway or a right-of-way put into your property. The previous owner had completed that already, so all I needed to do was get that certificate. So I need my site evaluation certificate, my encroachment certificate, and then I had to take a copy of the plat map and I had to draw a diagram as to where we plan to put our house and our garage on the piece of property. And what that did is that allowed the zoning and planning department to see if we were going to be encroaching upon any easements that comes with any piece of property you buy. So in my particular case, I would not be allowed to build anything any closer than 70 feet from the front of the property, 10 feet from the sides of the property, or 50 feet from the back of the property. And indeed, I was aware of these easements, and I placed, my wife and I decided on the location of the house. And as it turns out, the house is sitting fairly in the middle of the property, so it's not encroaching upon any of the easements. And so that the building permit that you obtain from the planning and zoning will cost you based upon the square footage. In my case, the covered square footage that I plan to build, including the garage, my entire cost, just to give you an example of what yours might be, for the garage and the house was about $648 for both building permits. And that is roughly 1,700 square foot of covered space on the house and roughly 800 square feet on the garage. So that was the cost of that building permit. Once you have your site evaluation and then you have your building permit, you are ready to start cleaning and clearing your site for your house.